Hello students, welcome to the online lecture series organized by Gokul Education Society. Dear students, in this video we will learn an adventurous story of climbing the Mount Everest undertaken by Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary. On to the summit, we reach the top. This is an article from Times of India and it is written by Tenzing Norgay. This lesson is based on real life experience. Summit means the highest point of a hill or mountain. In this story, writer narrates his thrilling experience of climbing the Mount Everest. Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary were successful in reaching the top of the Mount Everest. It was the greatest achievement in their life. They were proud of it. The title is appropriate and suitable because in this story, writer narrates their adventurous journey of climbing the Mount Everest from beginning to end, and it was historic moment in their life. Here, I would like to give more information about Mount Everest. Everest, which is considered as highest peak in Himalayan ranges. Everest was formed by the movement of the Indian tectonic plate pushing up and against the Asian plate. Everest grows by about quarter of an inch every year. Let us see about the writer. Tenzing Norgay was a Nepali Indian Sherpa mountaineer and he was also referred as Sherpa Tenzing. He was known by birth as Namgyal Wangdi. Sherpa is a person belonging to the Sherpa community of Nepal, located in the Himalayan mountains. Owing to the large number of porters belonging to this community, the term has come to be used to refer a mountaineering porter in Nepal. Sherpas are also known for providing support for foreign trekkers and mountain climbers. Sherpas have excellent skills of climbing. Tenzing was a part of the 1953 British expedition to Mount Everest along with Edmund Hillary, was the first to reach at the top of world's tallest mountain on 29th May 1953. He was regarded as a hero by many Nepalis and Indians. Tenzing has been honored with the Tiger Medal, the Padma Bhushan, and the Star of Nepal. Students, let us see about the characters in the lesson. Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary, these two are main characters in the lesson. Tenzing Norgay was a Nepali Indian Sherpa mountaineer and he was also referred as Sherpa Tenzing. Edmund Hillary was a New Zealand climber and Antarctic explorer who first earned fame along with Tenzing Norgay for being the first to reach the summit of Mount Everest. Colonel Hunt was a British Army officer and also known as the leader of the successful 1953 British expedition. Lambert was one of the best friends of Tenzing and leader of the 1952 Swiss expedition. Low was a New Zealand mountaineer, explorer, and the last surviving member of the 1953 expedition, known for accomplishing the first ascent of Mount Everest. Low came to meet Tenzing and Hillary with tea and coffee when they were descending. Noyes was an English mountaineer and a member of the successful 1953 British expedition, known for accomplishing the first ascent of Mount Everest. Noyes also came to meet Tenzing and Hillary with more tea when they were descending. Nima was the youngest daughter of Tenzing Norgay. We will see some information about the camps. When an attempt at the summit is to be made, base camps are set up at the mountain. These are areas which are comparatively safe from the harsh weather or physically easier to access. In case of mountains that are difficult to climb or too tall to scale in a single day, additional camps above the base camp are set up at various stages of the climb. In the expedition mentioned, a total of 9 camps were laid out, each one higher than the other with the final camp. Camp 9 is set up at 8,504 meters above the base camp. Students, this lesson gives us a glimpse into thoughts of the two as they make history and their first reactions to the historic climb. It is also about writers' real and thrilling experience of climbing Mount Everest. This lesson is divided into four parts for your better understanding. Part 1 is about beginning of journey. Part 2 is journey towards the summit. Part 3 is on to the summit. And part 4 is about return journey. Now let us see part 1 beginning of journey in detail. Tenzing describes the climb to the top and all events that occurred during the historic climb. By leaving Camp 9, Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary take their first step towards fulfilling their resolution of reaching the top of the Mount Everest. This was Tenzing Norgay's seventh attempt to reach the top, and this time he was firm about his decision and even ready to die while reaching the top. They continuously change their positions while climbing. The man who follows in climbing has a difficult job both in climbing up and climbing down. The person who follows other is known as anchor. Anchor means supporter. Anchor supports the weight of the leading climber in case of a slip or fall. This is a difficult job and therefore it was performed by both of them in an alternate position. Tenzing Norgay had four flags in his pocket when they were at Camp 4. Colonel Hunt gave three flags. Those were Great Britain, United Nations, and Nepal. Colonel Hunt told him to take care of these flags and place them on the top of world, that is on the summit of Mount Everest. Colonel Hunt had full confidence in them. He assured them that they will reach successfully on the top and they will plant the flags at the peak. Tenzing asked permission for planting Indian flag besides the other flag to Colonel Hunt, who was the leader of this expedition. Colonel Hunt was very happy to know that Tenzing had Indian flag with him. This is the act of true patriotism of Tenzing Norgay and his love and devotion to the country. Let us move to part 2, Journey towards the summit. After 1 hour of steady climbing, they had to change their direction from south to west. After changing of direction, they were faced with steep line of rocks. This was slow and difficult task, and once they had cleared this steep line of rock, then there was nothing in their way to stop them from reaching the top. Both kept the same steady pace, even though the last 60 to 70 feet of the top was not very dangerous, and they reached the small flattened summit almost together. The last 50 feet from the peak, Tenzing and Hillary were moving 20 feet apart from each other. They were tied together with a rope. Most of the time the rope was loose, but when they went over dangerous grounds, they drew their rope tightly. The writer considers rope as a symbol because it tied them together during steady and dangerous grounds. Writer also considers that they were not individuals but a team. The rope was symbol of their teamwork and companionship. The writer has been asked many times who was the first to reach the top. To this writer replies that it didn't matter to both of them that who was the first because they were concerned about many more worries as climbing takes full attention. The writer further adds that their main thought was that they both had to reach to the top because one couldn't do it alone. Controversy about who was the first to reach to the top had arisen when they reached Kathmandu. Controversy means public disagreement or heated discussion. Hillary, Colonel Hunt, and Tenzing talk about the controversy. They agreed that all the talk was childish, so they formed a pact, and each of us signed it in the office of the Prime Minister of Nepal. Pact is formal agreement between individuals. The matter in the agreement between Hillary and Tenzing is as follows. Hillary's statement. Hillary states that on 29th May 1953, both left high camp on Mount Everest for attempt on the summit. We embraced each other overjoyed at our success. Then I took photograph of Tenzing holding aloft the flags of Great Britain, Nepal, the United Nations, and India. It is signed by me. Both of them decided that they will not take any part in controversy. As the statement says, Hillary and I embraced when we reached the top with bulky equipment. I remember very well saying to him, "We have done it." We couldn't hear because of oxygen mask. The copy of formal agreement was carried by both of them. Students, let us move to part 3, onto the summit in detail. On reaching at the top, the first thought that came to the writer's mind was gratitude towards God, because God had fulfilled his desire after failing for 6 times. This was his seventh attempt, so after reaching to the summit, he felt that his dream came true and it was heavenly experience to him. He could not have anything more in his life. Tenzing placed all the offerings to God on the summit, which were biscuits, candy, and little blue pencil. Tenzing felt overwhelmed and emotional at the summit. He carried these offerings according to his religion. Both he and his wife were Buddhists. Here, I would like to give some information about Buddhism. Buddhism is a religion in which the traditions, beliefs, and spiritual practices are based on the original teachings of Buddha and its interpretations. The little blue pencil was given to him by his youngest daughter Nima when he left home. The pencil had been invaluable to her. While offering to God, the writer prayed silently. Hilary took pictures of Tenzing holding flags which were fastened on one end to his ice axe. The writer Tenzing Sherpa was thirsty, so he took out his water tumbler and found the water was frozen. So he had to eat biscuits and offered some to Hilary. Tenzing was wearing a red scarf, which his great friend Lambert had given him just a year ago on May 28th, when they were standing at 28,215 feet high at the time of Swiss expedition. Lambert was the leader of the 1952 Swiss expedition. This scarf reminded Tenzing of their successful mission. Tenzing wore the red scarf all the way to the mountain from Darjeeling to the summit of Mount Everest as a tribute to his friend. The writer felt absolutely fit, very happy and excited while wearing the scarf. As Tenzing looked down from the top of the Everest, all the hills and mountains looked like gods and goddesses. The plains below looked like many broken pieces of the map. Writer says that only 2 or 3 people can stand on the roof of the world, which is the peak point of Everest. If you wanted to camp there on the summit, you would have to go below some 20 or 30 feet from the top. Writer also claims that the summit is flat on one side and steep on other side. There is a snow on northern side and rocks on the southern side. They both stayed on the top for a little more than 15 minutes. They were lucky that there was no gale. Gale means strong wind, because it would have swept them off, and their next concern was how to get down safely. Students, let us move to part 4, return journey. On their way down, Tenzing states that the climb down was more difficult than the climb up, because if you slip, you would fall directly into Kangshung Glacier and there will be no trace of you left. Glacier is an extremely large mass of ice which moves very slowly, often down a mountain. Kangshung Glacier is situated on the east. It is one of the 3 main glaciers of Mount Everest. It took less time for both of them to climb down. But as the writer says, you have to be more cautious on the way down. On reaching Camp 9, the first thought that came to Tenzing, thank God, we have spared an accident. The writer always prayed to God for their safety, and God always saved them. On reaching Camp 9, they were in no mood of talking. Then, after half an hour, they boiled some snow and made lemon water to drink. After a while, they left Camp 9 and took only sleeping bags with them and left everything in their tent. When they were just about to reach Camp 8, they saw other people, and then Tenzing raised his arm with his thumb up. Lo saw them, and his face flushed with joy. Lo came to meet both of them as they reached Camp 8 with some tea and coffee. They spent night in tent at Camp 8. On going another 50 feet down, they met Noise, who brought some tea, which smelled like kerosene. But the writer thought that Noise had taken so much trouble to prepare tea and come here, so writer enjoyed tea, whatever the smell. The story ends here. This is an adventurous and thrilling expedition. This experience cannot be described in single article. If you want to find out more information, you can Google it. Climbing Mount Everest is not everyone's cup of tea. It requires mental strength and physical stamina. One has to undergo rigorous training of years. A mountaineer while climbing has to face many risks such as heavy snow, rain, bad visibility, flash floods, strong wind, hypothermia, dehydration, snow bite, etc. And it is also a huge risk to life. Let us revise the lesson once again. Tenzing and Hilary set out from Camp 9 early on Friday morning to continue their journey to the top. Tenzing was determined to conquer the peak, even at the cost of his life. They took turns to take the lead because the one that follows has the difficult job of acting as the anchor for the team. Tenzing was carrying four flags with him of Great Britain, Nepal, India, and United Nations in order to plant them at the summit. After 1 hour of steady climbing, they had to cut across the south face and begin climbing the west side, where they had to cross a steep line of rocks. After clearing this, they faced snow covered incline. They maintained the same steady pace and reached the small plateau almost together. Four flags were put by, Tenzing wearing the red scarf gifted by his friend. Both of them stayed safely at the top of summit for 15 minutes. Tenzing expressed his gratitude to God and he prayed. Tenzing placed offerings on the summit and Hilary took his pictures. They were more cautious while climbing down and safely they reached to Camp 9. Tenzing gave thanks to God for saving their lives. While descending, they met to Lo and Noise. Lo and Noise brought coffee and tea for them. They spent night at Camp 8 and safely came down with lot of happiness because they reached at the top of the Mount Everest and it was the historic moment of in their life. Controversy of who reached the top first arose when they climbed down. To answer this controversy, they made a pact and decided that all talk was childish. In this way, they ended the controversy. Hard work, perseverance, and determination are the keys to success. As we know, this was Tenzing Norge's seventh attempt to reach to the top of Mount Everest. This time he was so determined about his goal that he became successful. The message we get from the lesson is we have to set a goal in life and to achieve it, we should be persistent and determined about our work. This adventurous story encourages us to stick with our goals and be steadfast until we reach to our goals in life. Success only comes by persevering despite failure. True spirit of teamwork conquered the obstacle together. A dream does not become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work. Students, for practice, I am giving you two activities. These two activities are based on writing skills and it will help you to improve your writing skills. So you will attempt it. I hope you understood this lesson. I have mentioned some links of motivational videos which will inspire and encourage you to achieve your goal. So do watch them. Best of luck for further studies and thank you.